So the topic today is going to be about the recent news. Now, I got mine from Political, MSNBC. There's a couple different places that have issued this. And it's about the President of the United States and the potential for that person to be put on a US $1 coin. So this is going to be the primary discussion for today. We're going to get to that here in just a few minutes. But I'm also going to do what I do every Saturday morning, which is I'm going to start off with a story. I'm going to start off with a horde. And in this particular case, if you're looking at the screen, you're going to see this coin right here, which is the Redfield horde. Now, the Redfield horde, I have done a video on this. I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. I've mentioned it in a couple streams here recently. So we're going to talk about this, but I have to acknowledge my co-host, and I want to say hi to chat. So, Mike, good day, sir. How are you?
And a good day to you, sir. I'm great, thanks. It's like this looks like fun. I saw this news the other day, and I definitely have thoughts. So I'm happy to share.
I'm glad you have thoughts. This is a good thing.
Yeah, well, in general, yes.
Well, let's run in and say hi to everybody. Jack Young just popped in. What's going on? Bart Cubbins, Pete Clark, how are you doing? Luther's here. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Luther, I love this is a recent pickup for me. I love this coin. Ron AZ is here. Neil, what's going on? Chad Brookman is here. Scotty Quaddy, thank you so much for being a channel member. I appreciate that. Obviously, Dixie is here. Let's see. We've got who else is here? Vote for Pedro. What's going on? Pete Clark is a channel member. Thank you so much, Pete Clark, for being here. If I missed you, I don't intend to. I'm going to pull some other things up really fast. Mike, what's going on in your guys' world?
Not a whole lot. So I wanted to share my avatar today. My avatar today is a coin that we took in this week, and we are going to have for sale very, very soon. This is a really, really cool bust dollar, and so I figured I'd highlight it. I wanted to say hi to Ron and to the other people in the chat. I don't know if some of you realize this or not, but it's like I will come in under different names every once in a while. And I've been kind of hanging around lately, being a little bit more incognito, just not wanting to affect the flow, if you know what I mean. It's like sometimes it's fun to let other people talk too. So,
And sometimes it's
you
fun
know,
to
this,
let other people talk when they don't know you're there.
yes, that first night was a lot of fun.
Well, what's funny is Paula had no idea
None.
what was going on. I was laughing because I'd obviously seen this before. And so there was a comment that was made, and I was like, oh, I got it. Right. And then she started laughing when she actually picked up on it and got it. And I just was like,
Yes.
she has been brought into the fold. So
I
yeah,
love teasing Paula.
that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, Redfield Horde. You've heard about the Redfield Horde, clearly. How frequently do they come through your shop?
We still see them today. Every once in a while, it's like you don't see as many of the red ones as you do the black ones. For whatever reason, some people are bothered by the fact that they don't believe they're graded correctly. And who cares? They're a Redfield Horde dollar, and the packaging is just almost as cool as a coin.
So when you talk about graded correctly, let's clarify what that means. So I'm looking at the um, coin right here at the very bottom of it. It says from the Redfield Horde, mint state 65. Now there were like 63, 65. The black ones were a little bit lower grade, if I remember that correctly. They
Yes.
had some sort of damage. You see a majority of the
Well,
peace
they were
dollars.
strictly uncirculated, the black ones.
Yeah. Um, Because they had issues, right? Or was it just they were just marked as
No, they were
uncirculated?
just strictly uncirculated. They graded these, and they graded some of them, better than others. And I just don't think they necessarily graded all of them right. I think that's been the generalized opinion.
So when we flip this over and we actually see that NGC has graded this at Mint State 63 versus the label that's on the front, why the difference there?
Okay, so there's something that I think is missing from a lot of people's knowledge. When the NGC grades a coin, NGC grades a coin according to NGC standards. They don't grade the coin according to ANA standards. They don't grade the coin according to PCGS standards. They literally have, well, I should say about NGC is they at least claim to use the ANA standards, but at times they do tend to have their own kind of quirks and preferences. PCGS literally wrote a book that shows their grading standards. And so what that tells you is that it depends on the standard you use and then on who's grading it. So grading's subjective. I really hate the fact that people want to quantify everything in this world. It's just some things are aesthetically beautiful.
Agree,
And
agree.
you
And
can't
one
and you can't qualify that.
one thing that I really like about this is again, a Morgan dollar is not my favorite coin. Um, I can think of a bunch of different coins that I would much rather have, but I'm about stories. I absolutely love the story behind it. And I'm going to go
Mhm.
actually kind of talk about the Redfield Horde. Now, if you guys, I'm just going to be doing a short little summation of this. I have a video on this. It actually breaks this down much deeper, but I'm just going to kind of give you the once over of the Redfield Horde. So I want you guys to imagine that there is a grumpy millionaire. And it's not that he's just kind of eclectic. He doesn't trust banks. He doesn't trust paper money. He doesn't like government. He's a man who decided to house his entire fortune in his basement, along with his other prized possession, canned peaches. Now, who is this guy? This guy was LeVere Redfield. Now, LeVere Redfield was a pretty successful investor. He made his money not only by playing and utilizing the stock market, but also through things like real estate. And I already said he was very eccentric. Now, he loved to gamble. His primary game was roulette. Ironically, a man who didn't trust the government and was uh, afraid of spending money, didn't like to spend money, didn't like to do anything, wore old beat up overalls. Todd Wilkins, like, sounds like me. um, but he was just a little bit eccentric. And because he was strange, because he didn't act like most millionaires that you would expect, didn't drive the fancy car, didn't, wear the Versace clothing, didn't wear Armani suits, didn't drive around in, these, Bugattis or the, Verons or whatever they are. He drove an old pickup truck, old beat up, wore shabby, simple clothes. He tended to walk. Lived in Reno, Nevada. Would walk to the casino from his little small home. If you want to see a picture of his home, again, go check out the video. But he was just kind of one of these guys that didn't want to do this. But because of his massive distrust of the government, the IRS, the banking system, his disbelief in fiat currency, there's a lot of stackers and people who didn't, who can kind of come along with this and get that aspect of it, because I hear a lot about that in conversation throughout the community. Another reason that stackers like this story, right? Because it's like one of their boys, right? But he was called the Silver Dollar King. And why was that? Well, when he died in 1974, obviously he tried to keep this an incredible secret, right? Didn't want people to know about it, his dress, his attire, the way he manifested himself. All of it was just kind of, I don't want people to know I have money. But it didn't stop people still, He was still robbed one time. The police officers were like, "Why in the world would you do something like this?" Um, and he was like, "Well, why would I not?" So he was a very staunch man. He just wasn't somebody that you would expect to have bunches of money. Now, when we talk about this, you can see the Redfield Horde sitting here, and again, this is the 1887 S. It's an Eminent State 63, and these actually fetch a pretty fair premium. So, Mike, real quick, I'm going to deviate from the story real quick. When you get these things in, obviously it depends on the year and the grade, right? But what do
Correct.
these generally run for when they come across your shop?
Ooh, now you caught me flat-footed. I don't know, to be honest with you. It's like we would look at what Gray Sheet says. Excuse me, I had to cough. We'd look at the sheet and see where they fit, and then we'd probably add a small bump for it being in a Redfield Horde holder because it has a little extra interest.
So some of these can actually go for quite a bit of money, depending upon the grade and when they come in and where they're sold. But there
It's
is a,
always about the coin.
say again?
It's always about the coin. Some of these coins can be exceptional, so yeah, they do. They sell for really good money.
Yeah, but again, one thing here, and I probably overpaid for this coin, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. I wanted it, so I paid what I wanted to pay. But here's the thing. I love the story, so I want I want to hold on to those things that I enjoy, right? So again,
Hmm.
this is about the story. So when we talk about the numbers of these, when we talk about there being a lot of these, I want to kind of introduce people to how Morgan dollars were done. So they could be done individually, right? You could get them in little rolls, but they weren't always in rolls, but you could get them in rolls. But you could also get these in single bags where they were $1,000 coins. Okay,
That's the way they originally came from, right?
right. And so you could get them in rolls, but they were usually bank wrapped and they were done after the fact to make them easier to handle and things of that nature. But for the most part, they came in $1,000 bags. Now, when we talk about how many did he had 400 bags. 400 bags, 12 tons. Now, 12 tons, for those of you who have a hard time estimating weight, it's about the equivalent of like two large elephants. It's a massive amount of weight, all 90% silver. The total coin count, 407,000. Now, mind you, this is 1974. Let's look at silver price today and let's talk about the increase of how much was silver back in 1974, right? Let's look at some of that, barring, all the Hunt brothers and stuff like that. But 400 bags of these things. It's an unreal amount of money. And I've seen chat, there was a couple people saying, well, they were buried in a wall and stuff. Well, they were actually buried in an area where he stored his peaches. He was a prepper as well, and he absolutely loved peaches. I actually have a theory about hoarders and peaches. I've done other stories specifically looking at those that had a tie to peaches. You'd be amazed how many of these are. I've got a conspiracy theory about that. Um, because it
I
talks
once
to
knew a hoarder named. I once knew a hoarder named Peaches.
Well, see, there we go. I'm going to have to do a story on
Yeah,
that. Um, but what was important about this is they were Morgan silver dollars and peace dollars, right? Again, they were 90% silver, and Mike already talked about the fact that they come in black holders and red holders. Most people are familiar with the red holder, the one that I have here on the screen. It's usually the one that pops up the most. But what's cool about this is that he created this little uh, chute. He had a coal chute in his house. Now, again, you're talking about, how did they keep their house warm? He's living in Reno, Nevada. It does get cold there in the winter. And so what he would do is he reconvened, or repurposed, let's say that, he repurposed a coal storage area and used the coal chute to actually drop the bags down into the hiding spot. And so, yeah, Binion's another good one, Luther. I did a story on that one too. You have to go check that one out. But what's important about this is that he was pretty elaborate and purposeful about what he was doing. And again, when they found those, the company, again, we'll pull this up here, flip that over. And the company Paramount was the one who was actually given the task, as you can see down there at the bottom, of holding these things. And so that's where we get
And
this,
grading them, right?
and grading them. Yeah,
Yeah. And now we know why Paramount grading doesn't exist anymore.
exactly. Okay, now let's go into a couple of things. Hey, Mouse, what's going on? Good to see you. Now, what we're talking about, STS, I don't sell here. We're talking about a story. I'm utilizing the coin as an example. But thank you for being here. Appreciate it. So when we look at stories like this, when we look at the history of things like this, again, this is what numismatics is. It's a big chunk of numismatics. And so every Saturday morning, I'm going to bring you stories like this. I'm going to show you coins. If I can have the coin in hand, then I will do that. Sometimes the stories, um, the coins that they deal with are just too much money, and I don't have the money to carry some of these. The specific one I'm looking at is, the story of the excuse me, the Omega Man gold. The story of the hoard, the gold hoard that was found in California that they think was probably tied to the mint employees stealing all of the gold coins from that San Francisco mint. It's ironic that you would find a gold hoard in California. I'm just kidding. The gold rush, they were all marked San Francisco, but they were all in pristine condition. So there's a lot of times that I won't have the coin in hand. But guess what? I probably know people who have seen these and know how to get those. Hint, hint, wink, wink, Mike. Um,
Yeah, or maybe he has a set of pictures of them.
or you send pictures of them.
I
Exactly.
yeah, I do want to point out a really cool fun fact about this horde because Redfield himself was actually really smart in the way he did this. It would have been easier for him to just stack bags of silver, dimes, quarters, halves, all that stuff. But he liked dollars, and here's why. In your average bag of $1,000 face, 90% silver, if it's uncirculated, we assume that there's 735 ounces of silver in it. If it is circulated, we will assume it goes all the way down to 715. So 715 to 735. But here's the thing. If they're silver dollars, it's over 735. So silver dollars are a little bit heavier. They're a little bit heavier than, if you took 10 silver dimes, it would weigh the same as four silver quarters, would weigh the same as two half dollars. But that dollar coin would weigh just a little bit more, which is one of the main reasons why it never circulated.
That's cool. I didn't know that. Very cool.
Fun fact.
Ooh, what happened here?
And yes, somebody asked what the date is on my avatar. This is a 1795. Uh, I want to say this one is a three leaves. And yeah,
Absolutely
that's the
beautiful
obverse.
piece.
Oh, it's a beautiful coin. It's like you don't see $1795 in AU.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal piece. Very cool. Okay, so anyway, there's the story. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I've got I've got sorry, I'm doing a configuration thing. I appreciate it. Luther says bin. Luther's
I'll
not
tap
here.
dance.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. So I appreciate that story. All right, well, let's get to the the top story today. The actual purpose for doing this, and this
Today's
is
top story.
exactly Right, that's the news
See, on my
breaks.
show, we'd have a sponsor, but that's,
Well, okay, so go ahead. Who's going to sponsor this today
no, no, no,
then?
no. This is not my show. It's
Uh,
your own bit.
I actually love you guys when you guys do that. That's funny stuff. Um, so today there was information, there was news about this, and I'm going to pull this up really quickly. This is something that uh, again, folks, when we talk about this, I want to try and set kind of a precedent for the discussion here today. We're looking at the legality of this. I want to steer clear of the political aspect of this. If you want to do
Good
it,
luck.
just understand I'm not going to address your comment in chat, okay? Because we're looking at the legislative legality portion of this. I don't want to get into what your thoughts are. I'll be honest with you, I don't care what your thoughts are on this politically, okay? I'm not going to address it. So what we're going to be looking at is the legality and the precedence of this. So I want you guys to understand that first and foremost. If you start going political, I'm not going to do that.
Now,
Abuzi Demo has
can I
subscribed.
make a
Thank you so much.
can I make a comment in general?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so we have a really, really great community in the coin world. We do. It exists of all kinds of people, of all different economic strata, of all kinds of different backgrounds. And the thing that we all do is we all love coins and we all kind of group together. And I'll be honest with you, it's like our politics are varied. It's really way more varied than you'd think. So, the only thing I think that bugs me about today's climate is that everything has gone to trolling. Everything has gone to just trying to get a reaction out of somebody else. And it's like, I just wish we could put that all aside and talk about things. That's the only thing I wish would happen, that we could go forward from some point and just talk about how we want to move forward, and not stop trolling everybody and stop just trying to do things for a reaction.
I agree, and I want to address something that I put out there. This is something that is important for people to understand. A lot of people are going to take this in reference to this being a presidential dollar simply because it has a picture of the president. This is not part of the presidential series. So if you're looking at that legislation and you're going to try to counter the discussion with that, let me already stop you, because it's not a presidential coin. It doesn't fall under the Presidential Act. There are very specific things with that. It's different. We'll get into that. But this is not a presidential coin. So if you're going to utilize that argument in chat against it, just understand that you're not going to hold any water, because this is not part of that series. Okay. So I just want to kind of
No,
talk
but
about that.
but understand that that coin is going to get made eventually. That's going to happen. That is already established law. It's happened. So
Which one?
the presidential dollar for Trump will happen 2 years after he dies, just like Carter, just like Bush, just like Reagan. That's what's going to happen. They
That's
will
correct.
eventually make, but that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a different coin.
Yeah, and that's extremely important. So I'm looking at the poll. So right now, there have been 35 votes. I'm going to allow you guys to get in. For those of you who are in the vertical mode, you won't be able to see the poll. You'll need to be in the horizontal mode um, in order to do the poll. But right now, the question is, living president on a U.S. coin, is this legal? And 32% say yes, 35% say no, it's not, and 32% say that only in specific situations. So right now, no, it's legal is leading in this particular poll. We're going to leave this open for a little bit longer. If you haven't already answered, please go hit that poll. And again, please, folks, subscribe. I've got something that I'm going to be doing um, with the giveaways. I'm going to announce it today. It's not something that I've talked about, but I am going to talk about this morning. And that is, when we hit 200, I'm going to be giving silver away. If we get 200 likes, I'll give silver away. But it's not going to be the
Wow.
50. It's not going to be 75 or 100. I'm looking at getting engagement. If you guys are going to engage, I will reward you with a nice silver piece, and that might be a nice Morgan or Peace dollar. It might be one of the brown Ikes. It could be um, maybe it's a silver bullion coin, a 999 fine, could be a maple, something of that nature. The person who wins that, when we do that drawing, and that'll be a pull from chat. So if you're subscribed, you're commenting in chat, you're liking, and we get to that 200 mark, then I will work with that person. I'll give them some options, and they will get to choose from the few items that I have set out for them to do. So it's not, I'm just going to give you something. We'll work with it. We'll find out what you like, and we'll kind of lead you towards a choice that is based off of what you like. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that we engage you in the choice of this. I'm not just going to say, you know, this is what you're getting, because I want this to be a partnership, a communication type thing. Nana Stacks just became a member. Thank you so much, Nana. I love you bunches.
Yay, Nana!
I appreciate.
So I want to tell you that people should consider their answer before they answer, because I answered it and then thought about it and literally want to change my answer, and I now can't.
Yeah. So, and again, there's going to be some people, Azure Blue, the $4 Stella is very generous. Um, Azure, I don't have enough money to even stand in the same room as a $4 Stella. Um, Now, Azure has a really cool story about a $4 Stella. I'm going to have him up one time and talk about that. That's a pretty cool story.
I do
Um,
too. I've got a really cool story about
I
$4.
you
So
have a
I
lot
wonder
of
if it's the same one.
you have a lot of cool stories about $4 Stellas. All right, well
Yeah.
let's dig into this. So this is the Politico. Again, there was by now it's on pretty much every news media. The Treasury Department considering a $1 coin for Trump. The draft design of the coin, which is overseen by the Treasurer, Brandon Beach, shows the profile here. Neil Hahn, $3 super chat. Thank you so much for that, Neil. I appreciate you. The Treasury Department is considering a $1 coin emblazoned with images of the President Donald Trump next year. This is a statement made by the Treasury Department. 250th anniversary, the semi-quincentennial next year. The draft design of the coin was overseen by the Office of the Treasury. Brandon Beach features Trump's profile on one side of the coin. Opposite the side, him clenched fist saying American flag is in the background with the words fight, fight, fight. Now, this is, again, we get into the political. I'm going to bypass this. We're not talking about this, but we're looking at the 250th anniversary of the coin. Again, we're looking at semi-quincentennial. It reflects the enduring spirit of our country and democracy, immense in the face of immense obstacles. Congress, and now this is where we start getting into the legislation. We start getting into the actual components of this. So I want you to listen to what's said here, and then I'm going to be talking to you about the actual laws, okay? Congress in 2020 passed bipartisan legislation signed by Trump in his first term that authorizes the Treasury Secretary to issue $1 coins during the 2026 calendar year. The design of these coins must be emblematic
Emblematic. There you go.
to the United States semi-quincentennial. Beach, who supervised the U.S. Mint, said in a post on X that the administration would share more soon once the obstructionist of shutdown of government is over. Now, again, we're not going to go there. I had a whole thing on furlough,
It was a
what's going
quote.
on. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is just
that was
quoting.
a
Okay,
quote.
right. Okay, living people are rarely featured on U.S. money. I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to read anything else. And what I want to do is I want to go over a little bit of history and talk about some of the people that were actually located on U.S. coinage. And I'm going to share a couple different things. I don't know if you all have seen this, so I'm going to shift my screen share and I'm going to come over here. How many people have seen my commemorative $50 program? I've actually got to shift this because I don't want I've got to shift this a little bit so that's there because I need to make sure that people can see this. If you haven't seen the commemorative coin program, what I've done is I've started and I've done, good God, probably 50 videos already on each one of the coins, starting from the first one, which was the Columbian Exposition, this coin right here. Talked about each one of these, and I've broken this out. But when I look at this, there's a couple things that I want people to understand, and I'm bouncing back and forth because I'm trying to change screens. So the first thing that I want to look at here is I want to go to the Alabama. So if I kind of scroll through these, you're going to see all these different ones. And we're going to get to the Alabama coin.
1921, Alabama $50.
There we go.
I'm Kit
Okay.
Jackson.
All right. So the Alabama Centennial half dollar, 1921, was created through Public Law 66-200. And so 711, thank you so much for subscribing. I greatly appreciate it. So this again, you see the 1819 Centennial 1919. Now this is an interesting story because again, it actually was done later. It actually wasn't done in 1919. It was actually done in 1921. But they wanted to do the 1919 because of that was when the centennial was. Now, there was some information here you can see on the screen. I've got some notes down here below, and we talk about the 22 stars that are featured on the front of this with the busts of William Wyatt Bibb and T.E. Kilby. Now, this was the governor of Alabama. Now, this was the first person who was a living political person that was put on a coin that was still alive, okay? And so this was the first precedent, okay? Now, if we go to 1926, so we get down here and we get back into the 1926, we're going to be looking to get through the Oregon Trail. And again, I don't have all of these here, but we're going to be looking at the, where is this coin? It's the one with two busts on it. That's not it.
That's not it.
That's not it.
I know you got it in here somewhere.
Stone Mountain. Where in the hell are you? Come on, 1926.
Arkansas.
Where in the world are you? I guess I don't have the American Independence half dollar on here. I thought I did. I thought it was in this one. But Calvin Coolidge, 1926, the first living president to appear on a coin, and he was alongside George Washington. I thought I had this in this set, but apparently I don't.
I thought you did too.
Yeah. And then there was another one that was Carter Class. Now, this was a senator out of Lynchburg, Virginia, and they were on the Centennial half dollar. This was 1936. I don't think I have this one either. This one was Lynchburg, Virginia. Do I have this one? There's some of these that weren't technically part of this program, and so I may not have that one. I don't know if I have it or not. Anyway, Carter Class was another one. The next one, when we go back down to the Arkansas, again, there's the other one here. This is 1936. Where in the world? I thought I had all of these here. I should have done this a little bit better. Joseph T. Robinson was a senator, was on the Robinson, Arkansas Centennial. Now, if you go look at the video, oh, that's because I didn't put it in here. If you look at the video on the Arkansas, I just did this a couple of weeks ago, you'll see that one. And then comes the one that you were talking about, Mike, when we were first coming up, and that is Eunice Kennedy Shriver. Now, she was somebody on the Special Olympics. She was on that item.
Founder.
She was the founder. She was the first living woman that was issued on a regular issued coin, right? And so, again, there's been precedent. And the most recent one was this First Spouse gold coin. It was a $10 gold coin in 2016. And that was of Nancy Reagan. And so again, oh, I just realized my screen is not showing that item. So let me get back to this particular one. There it is. Okay, so let me share this back up. Okay. So again, when we're talking about this, there has been a precedent, and I'm going to be shifting this so the folks on the vertical mode, bear with me because I'm shifting stuff to make it good for you to see. There has been a precedent of this. This is not something that has not been done, but there's an important aspect of this that we have to understand, and that is in order for them to be put on one of these, there has to be legislation passed. Remember that the only way they can be put on a coin with a denomination, now we're not talking a metal. We're not talking metal. We're talking about a coin that has a denomination, and it can be commemorative. It could be part of a series. For instance, we talk about the presidential dollars. We talk about those particular items and those particular elements. And again, there are very specific laws and rules associated with the act of that particular one. Now, I've seen people dropping in chat the 1866 Act of Congress, and that's the one that codifies the rule stating that no portrait of a living person should be placed on U.S. currency, stamps, bonds, or other securities. Okay, again, let's talk about this again. I want you guys to listen to this. Placed on currency, stamps, bonds, or other securities. Now, that's the paper money law. Okay? It's not coinage. It's the paper money law. A lot of people get that confused. They see this and they say, well, this is because the 1866 law says that you can't do this. Unfortunately, you need to really understand and read the law. If you Google this, you're going to get it wrong. Simply because you need to understand the legislation. And this is why it's really easy for people to think they have a good knowledge of stuff, but if you don't read the details of the legislation and you don't actually look at the history of those coin acts, you won't understand this. Yeah, the other day, Tiger Stacker and I did a stack elector where we talked about legislation. We talked about the Treasury, its separation from the Fed. The Treasury and the Fed are not the same thing. You did, Neil. Again, this is one of those things that again I'm not watching chat. I've got a bunch of channels open. I've got a bunch of things open. I'm looking at information sharing. I'm not reading chat right now. I do know you talked about that. Well, Google doesn't suck. Google AI does. And if you take the AI initiation each time, you're going to likely get pieces of information wrong. AI is only as smart as the person who understands the content that can correct it. So don't use AI to search. Now you can use AI to streamline and to help pull big pieces of information, but you got to look, verify, validate, and do all of that stuff. So be careful with that. Okay. Now I'm giving real quick. Hold on, Mike. I'm giving Neil a hard time because Neil loves to search and look at stuff and identify stuff. I have to give Neil a hard time because at the very beginning he was going through all this stuff and I was like, hold on, dude, we'll get there. So
Yeah.
I'm purposely picking on Neil just because I appreciate his engagement. So again, looking at that, that's why I point you out, brother. Okay, just want you to understand this. What were you going to say, Mike?
Well, I want to make a point that I think is really, really important that, well, 2 points actually, that I think are really, really important in framing the discussion going forward. So, one is that for for anything on our coinage, right, there are laws that say what is going to be made, when it's going to be made, how it's going to be made, what it's going to be made of, all that stuff. There is very little discretion within that law. Um, as far as there is a piece of legislation that says that Jefferson will forever be on the obverse of the nickel, and Monticello will forever be on the reverse. And when they passed that, people were losing their minds. Go, well, now now they've staked a claim. No, what you have to understand is that in order for it to change, it now will take an act of Congress. The Treasury Secretary has some limited powers to change the coinage. The Mint Director has the power to mint certain types of metals and uh, and bullion.
You got
So
great
there's
information when you guys introduced Ventress Gibson on your channel. If you guys
oh,
haven't
she's
seen that,
amazing.
if you haven't seen that, go watch that interview because I learned some stuff by listening to her and understanding what she did and didn't have access to do.
Well,
And
there's two of them.
yeah,
You can go back
so
and listen to either one of them,
go
but
watch
she
those.
was amazing.
If I can have one of my moderators go through and drop that in chat, I would be much appreciated. Thank you.
So I wanted to frame that. I wanted to say that, look, everything is possible through legislation. So, you're saying, well, there's no precedent, there's no this. No, but laws can be passed. The other thing that I think is really important to say going forward is that the semi-quincentennial coinage has been being designed, being committed, and being worked on for several years now. I know that the designs on this came up really fast, and it could be done, but it would completely circumvent the process in order to do that.
That's correct. And so, Mike, I've got to deviate.
No, go for it. It's your show.
As you're blue, he said, you know, they'll never put Dolly Parton on a coin. That would be a big bust.
Oh, they wouldn't stick.
uh, if we're ever going to do a bust dollar, then that's the likeness we should
That's the
use.
one. There you go.
Appreciate you, Azure. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Salivate Metal has every commemorative coin from the U.S. Mint. That is fact. He's actually showed that on his stream. I need to have him up one time. I need to reach out to him. I haven't had him on the channel for quite some time. I need to have him back up and have him walk through some of those things. I think that would be a lot of fun. But again, let's get back to this. And again, we have precedent set here, right? And so the important thing to understand as we look at this is that, hey, Smiling Lisa, how are you doing? Good to see you. What's important to understand about this is when we talk about legislation, the coin acts, the individual coin acts, again, if we go back to that commemorative coin, and again, one of my moderators, if you can go drop that commemorative coin series in there, you can see that. In each one of those, every single picture listed in the commemorative coin series, and again, when I talk about commemorative coin, we're talking about a very specific $50 series that was passed through legislation. It doesn't include every single coin that was ever created that was a commemorative. It's a very specific set of coins. But in each one of those, there is a public law. For instance, the Cincinnati Music Center $50. That's the one that has Stephen Foster, which they called America's Troubadour. This was Public Law 74-485. If we look at the Bridgeport, Connecticut, that was Public Law 74-596. If we go to one of my favorite sets of coins in the entire freaking series, one that I wish I had money to buy, which is the Panama Pacific Exposition $50 gold octagonal, which is a phenomenal coin. That was
They're neat.
Public Law 63-233. So the precedent here, the understanding here is that in order for that to happen, it's got to pass through Congress. It's got to pass through legislation. Right now, what's happened is it's been a proposal. There's a precedent being set. It is the semi-quincentennial. We are looking at aspects of what's happening in the United States. They're looking at trying to find ways to get commemorative coins to, again, what is the purpose of the United States Mint? It's to be profitable, right? They are self-sustaining through a public fund, and whatever they can create that will generate a profit, they take serious consideration about. But the U.S. Mint can't make that determination. The president, or excuse me, the Secretary of the Treasury can't make that determination. The president can't make that determination. It's got to be proposed. It's got to pass through legislation. Now, if Congress approves it, obviously, then it'll be signed into public law by the president himself. And there was a couple statements when you look at some of the political news media channels, depending on both sides. The one kind of thing that came out is that President Trump was not aware of the design of this. This is not something that he went and pushed out. So they can create this. Now, with that being said, is this going to happen? Well, we'll find out. Just like the Charlie Kirk potential commemorative coin that they've passed, that they're probably going to fast track. Is that a coin or is that one a metal? Well, the Charlie Kirk, if I'm not mistaken, is a metal, right? It's not a denomination.
Correct. It's a metal.
So there's a little bit difference because the Mint director, and this is something I learned from Ventris Gibson when you guys had your interview, is that she has more control over metals, the metallic side of things. She can't touch the coinage side. She is given her task, her marching orders, and that's what she has to do. Right? Now, on the commemorative side, where we look at the metal, she does have some insight. And this is why when they went with the gold one, and she was like, there's a lot of people who will not be able to purchase the gold one. And they knew more about what they were doing than we did at the time. She's like, we really need to make this available to kind of the general population. And she's the one that really pushed the flowing hair metal and the silver. Now, I don't agree with the way they did it. You guys know my stance on that. Now, somebody sent me one to open live, and I just happened to get the one with the privy, which is really freaking cool. I still don't know who that person was. They probably will never announce themselves because they probably hate themselves that I got the privy on that. But she had her hand in that. So we're looking at something that the Mint director can't touch. They can't do anything about this because that coin is going to be a $1 coin. So this has nothing to do with the Treasury, and it has nothing to do with the Mint director. It has to go through legislation.
It's going to be even more difficult right now because we don't have a Mint director.
Well, we
have
have
an acting
we have the acting director, yes.
But that's not the same.
That's correct.
Not confirmed.
Yeah.
And with that confirmation comes the power to do the things that you're talking about.
And we're not going to get into what you think about the guy who's acting. I know there's a lot of mixed.
No. I wasn't saying that. And he is not the acting. He is you're talking about the actual nominee.
Oh yeah, well,
I think I'm not talking about that. There's a woman, I forget what her name is.
That's right.
Who's the current acting Mint director, but she doesn't have the power to do that because she has not been confirmed by the Senate.
She's not been confirmed. That's correct. Good morning, Paula. I hope you're feeling
well.
Paula. Paula's a little under the weather. She had another one of her treatments on her.
So no, it's like I don't tend to like grind an axe on people.
What's up, ATS? How you doing, bud? Good to see you in the stream. Yeah, so again, what's important about this conversation is that, you know, a lot of people, and this is why I talk legislation so much, because in order for coins, and again, we're talking coins, not metallic art, not metals, okay? In order for coins to be approved, they have to turn into public law. Now, here's the kicker. A lot of people say, well, they just do an executive order for it. The president would just make one. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. President doesn't have power to put their stuff on there. This is a legal,
coin money.
It's a legal process that must be going through, right? He can't just say, well, I need my likeness on here. Hey, you know what? I want you to put that person on here. Now, he can make suggestions just like everybody else. And he can say, you know, I want to do this. In this particular case, for most of the stuff that I've read, it doesn't appear that he even knew that they were looking at doing this. Good morning, Peaches. What's up, Chad? How you doing?
And in fact, the the bill must come from the House.
Correct.
It
That is
can't even
correct.
come from the Senate. It has to come from the House of Representatives.
That is correct. So when we look at this, the answer that in the we got 46 votes right now. I'm going to end the poll. 33% stated that yes, it's legal. 28% said only in specific situations, and 39% said no, it's illegal. And the answer is only in specific situations. And that specific situation is that there has to be a law passed, there has to be a signed law in order for that to occur. Now, there is precedent. And again, political viewpoints aside, it doesn't matter. You can Google the hell out of this, you'll get it wrong. We talked about that. If you look at the 1866 law, that's the thing you're quoting on, you're going to get it wrong because there's legislation that must be passed. Every coin, everything with a denomination has to have a law associated with it. Now, let's break this down a little bit further. There are coin laws that, well, it's not yes and no. It depends. So the answer no, it's not legal is wrong because there is a legal precedent for it. If the given
Well, yeah,
situations are there, then it is legal. In no way,
yeah. I
shape,
was
or
going to
form.
say.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was going to say that if you have to boil it down to yes or no, then the answer is yes.
The answer is yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is legal. Now, the reason that the answer in this particular case is only in specific situations is because there's been no legislation passed. Once the legislation passes, then it's done. Otherwise, it's just a fancy idea. Okay. So the answer, no, it's not legal, is not, it's not, it's not correct. Okay. Again,
Yeah,
if we
it's
boil it
not
down to no,
accurate.
it's not accurate. Say,
I
um,
would I would recommend going on YouTube and looking up Schoolhouse Rock and going to the "I'm Just a Bill" video.
I love those
Hey,
things.
I'm telling you, that stuff is right.
I love those things. That's funny as hell. Yes, but you're right. You're right. It does tell you a lot about the process. Now, I talked about the process a number of times. I will continue to talk about the process because just like Paula says, and I know Paula's in chat, and folks, again, you guys know I toot Paula's horn quite a bit when it comes to this. Paula has taught me a lot about coins and a lot about understanding varieties and errors and understanding certain things. But she made a comment to me one time about know the minting process. If you understand the minting process, then you can reverse engineer that item and go, where could it have happened? Where in this process could it have happened? Is this something that even could have happened at the U.S. Mint, or is this something that there's no way that could happen? It's the same thing within the legalities of coin creation, right? In order for something to be on a coin, now we talk about the major coin acts, okay, 1853, obviously the first one, 1792. We talked about the big one. That's the one that established the currency of the United States of America and what was going to be there and what was happening and the staging of the first U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and all that kind of stuff. But there are laws that tell you exactly what has to be on each denomination. There are laws that say what that coin is made of. There are laws about the thickness, how round, the metallurgical makeup, the words liberty, in God we trust, e pluribus unum, the bust, the reverse. There are acts that talk about the specifics on that coin that must be on every U.S. denomination, period. And then there are associated laws that take that into consideration. And you say, okay, here's all the stuff that has to be here. I get the center, the front and the back to play with. I can play a little bit as long as I work in all of those elements of that. for that U.S. coin, as long as all of the elements in God we trust, e pluribus unum, all that stuff, as long as all of that stuff is there, I can design around that. And this is what we see, right? We see these coins. You see the semi-quincentennial, the beautiful penny and nickel. Ugh, hold on, I got to throw up real quick. Horrible freaking designs. Oh, ugh. I need to drink something. I got a nasty taste in my mouth when I said those.
Well, here's the thing though. We're losing money on every single one of them we make. Do you really want to spend any more money on them
No,
to
no, but I
design them
mean,
to do what it takes?
so here's my thing, Mike. This is the 250th anniversary. Pull your head out of your ass, US Mint, and get the designers to do something that is remarkable, rememberable. Right? See you later,
Um,
David.
I will tell you that I have seen some of the design possibilities for the coins, and they're pretty good. Now it's like I said, nickel dime, okay, yeah, the privy mark kind of look. I didn't want to spend any more money or time on nickels and pennies anyway, so I get it. But I think you'll be happy if you're old enough to remember the bicentennial when they designed those coins. I mean, they were designing the quarter, and the place went on the half, and the third place went on the dollar. And those are the only things that they changed. And they were really pedestrian, with the exception of that quarter. That quarter was really nice. So it's one of those things where we're getting some of the designs I've seen. I've really liked. I haven't seen the final design, so
So me makes a really good point. The coin should be about the Declaration of Independence, and that's something that is extremely important. Jack, have a good one. Jack, are you going to be up on panel tomorrow? You guys need to be here tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a fun conversation too.
see you tomorrow, Jack.
Yeah, I think he's going to be here. There's a delay. I increased the
Yes.
quality of presentation, and so there's a little bit of a delay in this. Um, and so I think he'll do that. I'll message it, but I think we've got. Are you coming up tomorrow too, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
Jack
you
will be
want to
here.
talk about etiquette?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
a I think it's something that needs to be handled.
yeah. Um, but again, it's one of those things that. So gold maple. I want to. If you're talking about the 1866, then again, that's about paper currency. Okay, just real quick recap. Go back and watch this. I've given you all the breakdown. But the other one is this is not a presidential dollar. So if you're utilizing the 1866 or the presidential dollar, unfortunately, you're missing the mark. This falls under neither one of those two laws. So if those are your precedents for arguing, then we remember that those don't apply in this particular case. Okay, so just FYI. They do not commemorate. They do not commemorate.
Paula said the
Uh,
quarters for 2026 are a joke, and it's like, Paula, I beg to differ with you. Wait until you see the ones for 2027 going forward. Youth sports. This is one of the things that I do rail on all the time. Is that you have taken a really, really good idea in the Women on Quarters series, and you have honored 20 women. That's it. And you're going to stop and now start a youth sports theme on quarters that nobody wants.
well, and again, right. This is, and I really want to tie into what me said because what is the purpose of the semi-quincentennial? The United States Mint over the last couple years has kind of missed the mark on a couple things. And again, I liked Ventris Gibson. Number one, I was in the Navy, and so I have a esprit de corps connection to Ventris, even though I don't physically know her. Um, but what's important about this is that the 250th anniversary of the semi-quincentennial. This is our our nation. This is the This is the remembrance of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. This is not about liberty. This is not about our interpretation of freedom. This is not some sort of whatever. It's about the Declaration of Independence. And we really need to make sure that we are tracking this. Okay, we need to make sure that we are understanding what's happening here. And it's important to understand that when you look at the process for the designing of a coin, it is very political. But they missed the mark on this. And you see some of the stuff that happened. And again, I talk about various commemorative coins in various videos, but looking at the coin series, every time the US Mint has created a commemorative coin, starting from the World's Fair, the Columbian Exposition, and they started to go on and do this, the interest in these coins has waxed and waned. The one that they did really good, which was the real big hit, was the bicentennial with the drummer. That drummer quarter is it's recognizable everywhere. It's a great design. It's about Declaration of Independence. It was a call to that particular element. It was very well done. However, the problem is that the following cycle was crap. This one here, again, I think they missed the mark. They had a really good opportunity to remind people of what the semi-quincentennial is. And I think we missed the mark in this. And is this something that we can change? Unfortunately, the law is passed, the designs are out there, the CAC has already agreed this, they've already approved many of the designs. There's still stuff coming out. There's still commemorative coins and medals and stuff that are being talked about. This, i.e., the discussion we're having today. By the way, for those of you who don't know, i.e. also means example. It's just something that you would write. But I think that they're missing the mark, and I think that Mee's absolutely right. We need to go back to what is the semi-quincentennial. The semi-quincentennial is about the Declaration of Independence, and we need to go through that. We need to talk about that, and so it's
Okay, well, can I play devil's advocate for a second then?
fire.
What does the drummer have to do with Declaration of Independence?
Well, the drummer boy was the representation of the battle, how wars were fought during the Revolutionary War. It was
Okay,
it was no,
maybe.
so no. Go back and look at the legislation. Go look at that. Read that again. When you talk about the law, they talk about what the symbology of each element on there is, right? So they actually go through that. If you go back and you look at the legislation for
Well,
that particular one,
the drummer, though, came from a contest. It
yes,
was the
but
winning design in a contest.
yes,
And
but
it didn't say that they had to have a drummer or anything. They just said something symbolic of the bicentennial. The reason why I'm playing devil's advocate is this, that, oh God, now I completely lost my train of thought on it.
not a very good devil's advocate, but
No, not a really good devil. You completely derailed me. That's a good tactic. Um, was that okay? I got it now. So what is the Declaration of Independence about? If you really want to symbolize the Declaration of Independence, in my opinion, you would have a picture of King George and somebody flipping him a middle finger, because that's what the Declaration of Independence was.
that would be a coin that I would buy. Hell yeah, let's do it. Let's
But I mean,
go.
that's what I'm saying. That's what the Declaration of Independence was. All
Yeah,
the rest of the
absolutely.
stuff is about our history and our freedom and all that other stuff, and all of it is symbolic. Look at the third prize for the bicentennial coin ended up being, the moon and a Liberty Bell. What does that have to do with the Declaration? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
So the Liberty Bell again, the representation of liberty, right? That's part of the coin thing. You have to have
Well,
a
it was how
representation
far
of
we've
liberty,
come from the Liberty Bell to the moon.
right?
That
Well,
was
so
kind of the thing.
going along those lines, and this is again, you're not. It's not necessarily devil's advocate because I agree with you. I've always been like, what the hell is the sun for? Why in the hell do we have trees? Um, and again, it's symbology, and I get that. But if you look at like, you know, you look at the Superman and you got that freaking cartoony tree and or that cartoony sun in the background, and you've got, the freaking airplane or whatever the hell this stuff. It's like some of this stuff is like, why in the world would you put that on something like that? Why, you know what I mean? What does that represent? Superman got to fly, and we have to be in a metal box in the sky in order for us to fly. I don't understand some of the connections. But there are some symbologies. And again, as you're listed some stuff in here, drummers were used to relay commands on the battlefield, helped to maintain marching rhythm, troops for maneuvers, boosted morale, kept soldiers motivated. This is something throughout history that drums were utilized to signal stuff like that. Now, that is the fighting spirit, right? And that is the call out to the American solidarity. The whole premise, the whole purpose of that. Now, again, these are definitely, when you talk about symbology, some people are not going to necessarily see that in the drummer. I get your point. But why do we have 7 coins? Seven, seven of one person. What does she have to do with the Declaration of Independence? Where's the Declaration of Independence in that? Well, this is the independence was liberty and freedom, and so we have to talk about the people that did. This is not a civil rights. It's not the semi-quincentennial of civil rights. I think that's extremely important, and we should do that absolutely. But why in the world would they do that? Yeah, they even called the 2026 Constitution quarters, not even the Declaration of Independence. They totally missed the mark on this. Um, And so when you look at those things, I don't understand why they chose certain things because it doesn't embody what the semi-quincentennial is. We've gotten so mired up in trying to do that political make everybody happy thing, right? And it's not doesn't matter left or right. It really doesn't matter. It's trying to do this big, whatever and make everybody happy. And I think that we need to get away from what's the purpose of this? And the purpose is to honor the 250th signing of the Declaration of Independence. And so, again, when we look at some of these, now,
Well,
Trump,
okay, wait.
fight.
It
Okay.
can be it can be celebrating the 250th birthday of our country. It's not technically the same government, but it's still the same country.
Okay. The semi-quincentennial is what? It's not the birth of our nation. It's not the birth of our nation.
No, well, it kind of is. It's not the birth of this government, but it is the birth of the United States of America.
It's the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Remember, if you're
Mhm.
going to talk about the birth of the government, you also have to include the Continental Congress, the Sons of Anarchy.
Well,
You
no,
have
no,
to
no.
include,
That's
right?
why I'm saying
That
I'm not
happened way
saying the
before
birth
this.
of this government. I'm saying the birth of our nation, which is the United States of America. We called ourselves the United States of America since 1776.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So that is the 250th anniversary of what you're celebrating. Not
Mhm.
necessarily. I mean, I think that the things that declared it, which is the Declaration, right? I like the idea of that middle finger. God, I really can't get that idea out of my head. But yeah, so for me, it's like anything that symbolizes this country. Although I would think that the Constitution is probably a bad way to go because its anniversary isn't for another 13 years.
Me's like, damn, I need to be on panel. Well, and so coins making sense, Kevin. Articles of Confederation, it actually goes farther back than that. This is why, again, I am a student of history. I like American history, but I also like legislative law. So when you look at, and folks, I'm not an attorney. Okay, I love physics I love astrophysics. I love astronomy. I like biochemistry and neurochemistry, and I just like science. But the one thing about law, the legislative law, especially relating to our country and coinage, if we want to talk the founding of our nation, we want to talk about the first law, the first governing body. It actually comes from the Mayflower Compact. Okay, that is the first self-governing document that was created by people who came to America, and they recognized, the Puritan people recognized, that in order for them to have a civilization or a standard by which they could be governed by, they had to have rules in place to monitor and govern the code of conduct and how things happen within this new colony that they were going to be creating. So actually, on board the Mayflower, they created this compact, the Mayflower Compact. That is the original documentation that is the basis for our country. Now, it's changed, it's shifted. The Declaration of Independence is not. The Declaration of Independence was the one where we said, that's exactly what you talked about, King George finger up in the air saying, screw you, right?
Yeah, we're out.
Right, we're out. But we had already said that before. People were leaving because they were tired of the oppression. They were tired of that. We wanted religious freedoms. We wanted our own autonomy. We wanted to make decisions. Now, even in that discussion, we were not tied to the fact that we weren't going to help support the crown. Remember, we didn't have a problem with paying taxes. Okay. The problem with that was that as we did that, we started to get taxed without having representation. We weren't able to say, hey, we're our own governing body. So when I talk about the
Yeah.
semi-quincentennial, when I talk about the signing of the Declaration of Independence, that's the 250th. That's what the celebration is. It's not the founding of our nation. It's not the creation of the First or Second Continental Congress. It's not the Mayflower Compact. It's about the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And you can't, there's no conversation around that. That's what the
I
semi-quincentennial is.
I'm gonna I am gonna be on the opposite side of that. I'm sorry. I just happen to disagree.
And we
I
can,
just and yeah, we can agree
absolutely.
to disagree and be polite about the whole thing, and that's but I will say that okay, one, the document, if you're looking for the one that started it all, I'd go back a little bit further to the Magna Carta
Okay.
because that talks about basic human rights and what royalty can do in basic human rights. I think that's what started this whole thing, and it's like it took 700 years, for people to actually bring this to fruition because nobody had ever governed themselves before, ever. So it's like ours was an experiment. The first experiment lasted 13 years and didn't work. And we ripped it up and tried it again. But we're the same place. We're the same people. We're the same country. And so all of these things that denote our history belong in the celebration of our semi-quincentennial. It is about the 250 years. It's not about the event 250 years ago. The event 250 years ago is a point in history. We're talking about our history. I'll
I
put my
get you. I'm
soapbox away
tracking that.
now. That's just where I'm on the other side of it.
No, I completely
That's
get
my
that. I
opinion.
fully understand that. Yeah, and again, this is where folks,
This
not
is why friends talk.
yes, we don't always see eye to eye, and this is a perfectly acceptable um, ability to break down and discuss why we feel the way we feel. This is discussion. This is exactly what should be happening. I can provide information onto why I say it is what I believe it is, based off of the U.S. Mint's definition of what the semi-quincentennial is. They're the ones that help get that law passed into. I can also give information on the CCAC, that Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee, and the Commission of Fine Arts, and what they reference this as. But I also understand exactly what Mike's saying and what the context of our nation, what we're trying to remember here, and how that can be utilized that way, right? Well, I don't necessarily have to agree with him, but I do understand his point, and he makes some good arguments. And so this is something that we need to do more of. Have these conversations, understand that we're not going to necessarily agree on all of these items, but if you want to look at the definition, again, you have to make up your mind.
Paula
So
just posted it.
yeah, let's not use wiki as the
I just love it.
I know she's a good intent, but
I
um,
love Paula.
Paul is amazing. Yeah, I agree. So, but again, when we talk
The
about this, so
national treasure.
the whole purpose of today's conversation was, is this thing about the image, the likeness of President Trump being on a coin, is it legal? And the bottom line answer is yes. Now, why is it yes? Well, it's yes because if approved through legislation, it'll happen. If it's not approved through legislation, it won't happen. The president cannot say that it is going to happen. The House of Representatives can't say it's going to happen. The Senate by itself can't say it's going to happen. The Treasury Department, the Secretary of the Treasury, can't say it's going to happen. They can design it, they can put it together, they can put it out there, they can run it through. But if it's not passed through the proper legislative channels, it will not happen. And so if it is approved, then guess what? It's legal. Otherwise, it's just a good idea. So nothing about this is illegal. And as long as you guys understand that, now you can take and listen to what's happening in the media, listen to the discussions. You have a really good basis for that particular item. And once they do, then you can, then you can make an assessment. Now, here's where personal preference comes in. You might not like it. Some people in chat, I've been reading chat, I haven't been answering chat because there's some good dialogue there. And I'll let you guys have your discussions. But one thing that I've seen in chat is that it's pretty provocative. And if you look at this, you're absolutely right. The stance of him holding his hand up in that particular position, the likeness, and I'm going to say this, the likeness of Kennedy on the obverse, that's that same general structure and style. If you just look at Kennedy, that same general, obviously his hair is different, but that same general look. So we've seen that general picto style thing on that. And again, it's one of those things where it's one of those that, yes, I understand people may not like that. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But whether you like it or not, if it's approved through legislation and it becomes legal, then it's going to happen. Right? And so this is where we need to agree to disagree on this. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. Period. End of story. But once it's approved and it goes through Congress and it's signed accordingly, then we will see this on the coin. If it's not, then it won't happen.
And that's just the facts.
Hey, PL, one more time, I'm going to remove you. Please don't do that. Okay, I have done it twice. Please stop. Yeah, then yeah, that's right. You just don't have to buy it. That's all. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this? I know some people say they'll buy it, some people won't. And again, I want to make sure that we're leaving the political out of this. This is just a discussion about a coin. Whether you like the dude or not is irrelevant. The discussion is it going to be on a coin or is it not? And we'll find out. We'll monitor the legislation. We'll look at some of this element. And the bottom line is, once it's approved, it is legal. So
Yeah, and let's just try as adults to try and stop trolling each other so much and just talk about stuff. It's
yeah,
okay to disagree. You can be reasonable with people that you completely disagree with.
yep. Well, and again, you can support the guy and not like the coin. um, so again, it depends. And this is collector. Now there's a conversation that was also had regarding should the Mint be engaged in commemorative coinage? And it's their requirement.
It's their bailiwick.
It's what they're
Yeah.
supposed to do, right? That's their job. You don't have to like the stuff they put out. And again, nobody's requiring anybody to go to the United States Mint and purchase anything from them. Um, if you don't
John
want it, you
Hanna
don't want
makes
it.
a
Yeah.
really good point. Bad idea to have living people on coins, regardless of who it is. Yes, because particularly in our Me Too world, we learn things about people later in life that, or maybe after they die, that well, maybe it was a little cringy.
Well, yeah, and again, it's one of those things. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. You can tell that we're being very apolitical here. We're not talking about the politics of the coin. We're not talking about that. It's just, again, this is a suggestion that was made by the Treasury Secretary. They've talked about the potential for this being there. I talked about the legislation part. We broke down, what can be, what can't be, what the requirements of the thing would be on there if it's going to be there. Now, is it a good idea? That is a totally different question. And um, I'm not going to get into that one, right? Because I have my personal viewpoints, but my personal viewpoints are my own. It has no bearing on this particular conversation. Um, so I will leave that to you. Whether you like this or not, that is your call. I can't tell you how to feel. What I can do is
Right.
I can give you the facts and help you to make a more wise decision when you're having conversations with people and you hear somebody say, well, that's not legal. And you can say, well, actually, I don't like the guy, but here's the precedent for it. And if they approve it through Congress, then it will be. And now you can speak even
But
in
that
your own circles about that particular item. So,
that could be said of virtually anything. Nothing is legal until there's a law made in Congress that makes it legal. That's. I mean, it's like water is wet.
well, yeah, but again, people need to understand what legal means. The president can't do an executive order to put himself on a coin. Sorry, not going to happen. We can't
That
do
doesn't mean he
that's,
won't. That doesn't mean he won't try.
yeah, but this is
Look,
why,
the
this is why
government
the
does.
act,
Yeah, they do things all the time. As I was talking to you when we first came on, there are still Sacagawea coins that are made in 22 karat gold that went to the moon. Nobody ever authorized those. Nobody ever passed legislation for those. Yet they exist. And they were recently sold by the U.S. Mint. And if you can't tell, I've got a little bit of a bug in my bonnet about it.
so Emperor Wang, I've given you all the information. Go show me one piece of documentation that says I'm wrong. And again, let's reiterate this. This is not a presidential dollar. So if you're going to be looking at the presidential dollar series, it's not a part of that and therefore not relevant to the conversation. If you're going to look at the law of 1866, which a lot of people have quoted in here, they've been wrong because that's associated with paper money. Understand the difference between currency and coinage, understand the language. Show me one thing. If you can prove to me one thing that says that it's not there, and I'll continue to show you precedent, I'll show you the laws associated with that that have validated that. Show me, and I will retract the entire thing. I will take down the live stream. Show it to me. The pressure is on you because I've given you all the facts. Now it's up to you to show me that I'm wrong. So I'll challenge you, Emperor Wang. This is a direct challenge. Prove me wrong. Okay? Because you're talking about somebody who studies legislative acts because they enjoy them. Executive orders, legality, public law. Okay, let's discuss this. But this is a direct challenge. Okay, prove me wrong. Oh, was Ike president?
Yeah,
Okay, when did the Ike dollar come out?
1971,
When did he die?
1970.
Why wasn't it the 2-year mark for Ike?
because that was different legislation. It was a different, that legislation wasn't passed until the Presidential Dollar Act, which was 2006.
And the reason that I'm asking these questions is because you have to understand the history of the acts when they came out, understand when these laws
Yep.
were enacted, right? So again, it's
And
really easy to go
why
look at
couldn't they
one
make one in,
specific one.
and why couldn't they make an Eisenhower dollar in 1970? Because the Coinage Act of 1965 said that they will make no silver dollars for 5 years.
That's correct. Yeah.
That's another thing. I like to study that stuff too.
Yeah, and I know
It's
that's
fun.
right, right? The 19, but there's a lot more to it. So the Coinage
Yes,
Act of
but I was just
1965 is
saying
just
that
one.
it's
Yeah.
they couldn't make silver dollars until 1971. That was why when Ike died, he was the perfect person to replace the silver dollar with. They needed it for the casino interests in Vegas for their slot machines. And by the time they really got it figured out, Vegas figured out they could make their own.
Yeah, and again, right, folks, there have been 6 exceptions to the rule of having a living person on. Noor, thank you so much for subscribing. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Now, again, whether or not you like the fact that a living person is on a coin. Now, we have one that's still living that was utilized to reference the Sacagawea, right? Randy was on that. You have that interview, which was extremely good, neat person. Um, has a very specific way of looking at that coin and the history and stuff like that. Go check that out. That's also on the Coin Show podcast. By the way, folks, have you noticed that all these things that we're talking about, like have been talked about on Coin Show podcast? So go check them out. Okay, make sure you're subscribing to them. Uh, they have some
They're a
amazing
little weird, but
connections.
they're they're fun.
Okay, let me reiterate that not a little weird, folks. These guys are nuts. Um,
Okay, there you
but Mike and Matt are extremely knowledgeable. They have tons of years in the numismatic hobby. They have some established, some amazing relationships. So make sure you're checking them out. Again, I'm not trying to toot my co-host horn, but there are people in this channel, or there are people in this hobby, who not only fight for truth and integrity, but they live it day to day. So I really want to push that.
Well, I appreciate the plug mostly because I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I really don't plug myself. I
So,
just don't.
so Emperor
I'd rather
Wang,
be here promoting you.
Emperor Wang, the burden of proof isn't on me. I've already given you my proof. You're trying to refute it. This is where you misunderstand. The burden of proof isn't on me. I've given you all the legislation, the laws. We've talked about it. I've explained to you why it is. I've given you the precedents. I've showed you the public laws. You're telling me I'm wrong. I need you to tell me where I'm wrong. The burden of proof is on you. Um, so this is where people, folks, you guys need to understand. When you come into somebody's house and they do this, if you're going to challenge that person, then you have to show the burden of proof. You need to show me enough information that counters the point that I'm trying to make. I'm
As
giving
I
you my
did earlier.
information. Your burden of proof is on you. So Emperor Wang, show me where I'm wrong. And I'll guarantee you this, okay? If you can give me the legislative law that has not been covered by any of the exceptions that I've listed. Now, again, I'm going to go through here and give you one example. I'll throw you a little bit of a bone here, okay? If we look at the public legislation for the one from Alabama, we look at Kilby, okay? We look at the Alabama Centennial Half Dollar, okay? 1921, Public Law 66200. It was one of the first ones. The designer was Laura Garden Fraser. Go look at that law. I'll give you some information. William Wyatt Bibb, T.E. Kilby were on that coin. T.E. Kilby was the governor. He was alive at the time, died a little bit later. They wanted to do this a very specific time in order to honor them. This was a special case scenario. Okay, I want you to look at this and show me, but you're going to have to prove to me that you know something that I don't know. Then we can have the discussion. But as it stands right now, you're looking at 2 laws that one has been um, proven not to be correct because it specifically talks about the presidential dollar series. This is not a presidential dollar coin. Period. End of story. It's not part of that series. Mike said earlier, in time, after Trump passes away, given the 2-year mark, then it will be able to. If you're talking about the 1866, again, that's related to money. So the burden of proof is on you. You can come in and tell me whatever you want to, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree here. I have nothing against you. But if you want to have a debate, this is what this is. So folks, I want to clarify something before we start to wrap things up. You can't have a debate or a discussion if you come in saying you're wrong. Because now you put people in the defensive. If you want to have a discussion and you want to say, look, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, and you want to have a discussion about history, number one, be at least as versed in public law and the information dissemination as the person having the discussion. I haven't Googled my answers. I have the public laws available. You want to know what they are? I can share them with you. You want the URLs? I'll share them with you. I'll share you all of my information. I have about 35 resources available to you if you would like them. Anybody want them? Let me know. I'll throw them in chat. Okay? I'm gonna block me because he's just being a tool. I will share my information with you. Okay? I'm transparent. No problem. You guys want to know what that is? I'll share that with you. Okay? All right. Well, let's just do this. Dun, dun, dun. Have a good one. We'll bring you back at the end of the discussion. Okay? I'm not gonna get into a debate with you online. We've already discussed
Give me a
this.
bye. Give me a bye.
Yeah.
Well,
I gave
yeah.
you a chance, but
Bye-bye.
see ya. You want me to block you? Here, I will time you out. Hold on just a second. Okay. Boom. There you go. At your request. Thank you so much. But again, folks, what's important here to understand, okay, is if you want to have a debate, you want to have a discussion, you want to tell me I'm wrong, I don't have a problem. Just like Paula says all the time, if you want to prove to me I'm wrong, then the burden of proof is on you to do that. I've given you all the information. I've made my assessment. If I'm wrong, then show me. Show me. Okay? I will gladly listen to you. I will read the legislation that you give me. Okay? I have no problem doing that. Zero whatsoever. And so what I want people to understand is that I was very specific at the beginning of this. I don't want this to become accusatory. I don't want this to become political. I don't want this to become, this is a discussion about law. And until this law is passed, it's a moot point. If the law isn't passed, it cannot happen. But if the law is passed, if it makes it through Congress, Congress approves this, then it can happen. And what's the answer? I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I mean, there's no way to know. But that time will come in time, and we'll make that determination. Okay?
And only then.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you're right, Luther. I'm going to be wrapping this stuff up because we are moving into so again, let's does anybody in here know where I stand politically? Because I'll tell you what, not at one time in this conversation have I mentioned whether I'm for it or whether I'm against it.
Me neither.
Whether I like it or whether I haven't. So anybody who's making that assessment, that's your own assessment. Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
pure assumption.
that's pure assumption. So we'll leave it at that. Hey, Mike, thank
Yeah.
you so much. Last minute, jump up on, save me from my isolation.
Well, I couldn't let you do this by yourself. I mean, this, like I said, it's like it needs balance. a subject like this. So I just figured you can't balance yourself. You need somebody. You're smart. I'm an idiot. That works. That balances.
Yeah, and again, folks, Mike is extremely knowledgeable. He has a vast history. He works at Harlan J. Burke, which is a phenomenal coin shop. You guys should go check it out. Um, Him and Matt do the Coin Show podcast. He works alongside some of the greats of ancient coins, Harlan J. Burke, Aaron Burke, and God forgive me, they're his daughter and sister, and I can never freaking remember her last name.
Shanna Schmidt. I
Shanna
don't work with
Smith.
Shanna though. Shanna has her own place.
She has her own thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but you still deal with them because she comes in and they talk and stuff.
Mhm.
You've met her, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I'm not.
you've had an association with her. Um, but these guys have relationships with a lot of people, and there's a lot of great information. Paula, who's in chat, Deb Dixie rocks. Yeah, there's Paula, who's in chat again. Live Coin Q&A. Lots of great resources. Go check them out. A lot of good information. Jack Young, Jack Riley have been in here. If you're looking at understanding counterfeit coins and stuff like that, I just did an interview with the anti. Uh, uh, the Anti-Counterfeiting Educational Foundation. Part two is being released on Monday. And it's one of those things where, um, let me just do something real quick. Let's just time that person out for a little while. Thank you. I appreciate you. Again, we can have discussions, but you want to start getting personal, I'm going to remove you from here. There's no need for it. Let's just chat. But I appreciate you a ton for coming up and doing this and to talk about this topic. And again, talking tomorrow about coin show etiquette. That's going to be a fun one.
It was my pleasure. I very much support what you do. And so anytime you need me, I'm always here for you.
Appreciate you, brother. I reached out to Russ and asked him a question. I'll text you about it.
Oh, oof. Do you know where he is?
Do I want to know? Hey, Tiger
Well,
Stacker with a $5 super chat. Thanks so much, brother. Appreciate you.
he is on vacation. This guy has not taken a vacation in all the time that I've known him. And he's on
Really?
vacation. He's going to Georgia.
He's going
To
to
Tbilisi, Georgia, not Atlanta. He's going to Europe.
the country, Georgia.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah, he wants to visit the places he's read about. So that's one of the places he wanted to go, and he has a chance to go, and so he went.
That's
So
cool.
he is absolutely incommunicado. It's like he put a message up that says, "If you need me, no, you don't."
Yeah. Paul was like, "Can I join tomorrow?" And Kim Campbell's like, "Is that a real question?" Of course you can join tomorrow. You don't have to ask. But yeah, tomorrow we're going to be talking about coin shop and coin show etiquette. We've got a really cool star-studded panel planned for you, so make sure that you're here tomorrow for that. It's going to be a lot of cool things. So hope you guys enjoy that. And again, folks, this conversation was supposed to be as much as possible non-political. So if you got political stuff out of this, then it's probably bias because again, we tried to make sure that we didn't include that. Volcanic, I've got lots of these. How much do they go for? Unfortunately, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Lots of what? If you're talking about Morgan dollars or you're talking about the $17.95 that he's showing there, are we talking about the Trump coin? What is it you've got a lot of? Clarify that and I'll answer that question. Troy, can't wait to get the Trump coin. Well, it's not a guarantee yet. You have to wait for legislation. That's what the discussion's been about. Luther, by the way, Luther, I talked to this man up here and that discussion that you and I had regarding that story, he's got the information. I'm going to get it from him and we'll be doing something on that. So stay tuned for that. I appreciate your support.
Oh, and quick plug. Next Saturday, 250th episode of the Coin Show podcast.
250, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, hey, I am going to go pick up my daughter. We are going to go look at designing uh, her Halloween costume. She's going to go as the Phantom. So we've got to go figure out some stuff.
Cool.
Paula, indeed. Yes, the Richmond dime. We talked a little bit about that the other day. And people were like, no, that's not right. I was like, yeah, it is. I think I need to talk about that story. Enlighten some people. So, again, Mike, thank you so much for all the people that were here today. Please do me a favor. Make sure you're smashing that like button. Make sure you are subscribed if you're not and you want more conversation. Tell me what you want to talk about. Tell me what you're interested in, and we will make sure we do that. For the new subscribers, we had quite a few subscribers today. I think there was almost 12 subscribers today. Thank you so much for all your support. Paula knows all about the Richmond Dime. She'll be talking
And
about it.
me is asking on what day. It's next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live, Facebook and YouTube.
So Mark Rhodes says, brother, it's nice to actually listen to somebody who's not taking cheap shots at the political party or another. Thank you for that.
This was an adult conversation. I have to give you credit.
Yeah, and so I appreciate that because, again, this is a hobby. Let's treat it like a hobby. When we're stacking, we're collecting. It's important for people to understand that we talk as much truth as we can, but I don't need to get political. I have stepped out of conversations where it gets too much that way. My beliefs are my beliefs. They don't need to become yours. My thoughts on the status of our nation, my thoughts, I say those things periodically from time to time because, well, I'm a person. And if we're having that kind of station, we're having that kind of conversation, we're having that kind of environment, or I go into somebody else's house, i.e., their channel, and they're having that conversation, then I might voice an opinion. But in my house, I try to keep it as apolitical as possible. Why is that? Because we are a community of coin collectors, stackers, collectors, metal detectors, salvagers, scalpers, not scalpers. Scalpers was a bad thing. What I'm trying to
Historians,
do, huh?
historians,
Well, yeah,
and fans of history.
but yeah, exactly. And so
It's
this
a
is why.
it's a vast group of people, and the politics is just as varied. So if you keep your political discussion to policy, you're better off.
Mr. Death. So, is his coin going to be made from tin? That's funny. I don't know what the metallurgical makeup of the coin is going to be. It's most likely going to be clad. It might be. It might be 90% silver. I don't know. Again, I'd have to look at the legislation to do that. But
No, what I'll guarantee
that
you is
was
it
funny.
will not be 90% silver. I can guarantee that.
I would pretty much guarantee it won't be 90% silver as well.
Right.
But
The U.S.
I had to
government is
call out
not
that comment. That
buying,
was funny.
yeah, the U.S. government is not buying blanks of 90% right now.
Yeah, that's true.
So your silver proof sets and all that stuff are all made in pure at the moment.
Yep, and you'll never see the U.S. Mint with a pre-planchet at the range. Do you know that, Mike?
No.
Because the U.S. Mint is not known for shooting blanks. All right, folks.
Ah!
I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And again, thank you all for being here. For everybody who subscribed, do me a favor. If you like this conversation, share out the video when it comes out. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get this. We go on 8:30 Saturday and Sunday, almost every weekend without fail. And if you guys have something you want to do, reach out to me, let me know. Exclamation point, email, no space. I'll put this in both of those chats so you can see this. And if you have something that you want to see, please let me know. I'm not going to read that one, Mr. Death, but again, we're not getting into the political aspect of things here, but I like your sense of humor. All right, folks. Well, Mike, again, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you tomorrow. Folks, be well, be blessed, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.